I've helped dozens of sports coaches make their first $10,000 a month coaching athletes online, with some of our best clients scaling past $100,000 a month. And in this video, I'm gonna be walking through the differences between a beginner versus somebody making $10,000 a month versus somebody making over $30,000 a month and beyond. If this is your first time here, my name is Nick. I run an online consulting company helping sports coaches achieve time and financial freedom by implementing the online mentorship model so they can train more athletes, make more money, and build a life of way more freedom. If you're a returning subscriber, welcome back. Got an absolute banger for you today. Whether you're a beginner, you're already making $10,000 to $30,000 a month, or you're already past $100,000 a month with your online athlete coaching business, you will get a ton of value out of this video. So get out your pen, get out your paper, take some notes. I'm gonna be dropping a ton of sauce in this video, okay? So what we're gonna be doing in this video is we're gonna be walking through the 3 stages, if you will, that an online sports coach is gonna go through, and the differences in their mindset, where their time is going, how they price, what their offer is, and who they're going after, and then their content strategy, okay? So let's dive in. Let's start with the beginners, okay? The beginners, and I would classify beginner anybody who's from 0 to, let's say, $10,000 a month coaching athletes online. And by the way, this was inspired by a client of mine who I just did a YouTube interview with, and he was like, hey Nick, what are the clients, because he's been in our program for like a year, he's like, hey Nick, what are the clients in your scale program who are already doing $10, $20, $30, $50, $100,000 a month? What are they doing differently? And so I figured I would literally just make a video answering that question for him, okay? So back to the topic at hand. So the mindset for most beginners, okay, is that they're uncertain. We'll start with that. They're uncertain. They're not sure if they should post this or they shouldn't. They're not sure if this should go on their story or on their feed. They're not sure if they should use this software or that software. Everything is uncertain, right? They literally can't make a decision, and at least for our clients that come through our program, they're asking for a lot of help. They're asking for a lot of feedback because they don't want to do things wrong, and that's exactly why they hire us, right? Is because of that uncertainty. Okay, the second thing is that it seems impossible, right? In order to make $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, even $50,000 a month coaching athletes online. It seems impossible, okay? And probably the most detrimental thing, because the uncertainty and it seeming impossible, I mean, obviously if you've never seen it happen before, it can be very difficult to envision yourself doing it, right? Even if you see other people, you probably have these limiting beliefs around what's possible for you. Now, the biggest thing that keeps people stuck is this third thing, is that they find limitations, okay? I've had people come through my program who are 50-something years old, people who are 20 years old. I've had people come through with no time, with tons of free time, right? In a bunch of different circumstances, in a bunch of different walks of life. And the thing that keeps people stuck the most is that they find limitations. They look at their situation and they go, that is why I'm stuck. I have kids, therefore it's harder for me. I have a job, therefore it's harder for me, right? On the contrary, I have people who have kids, have a job, have a bunch of other things going on outside that have had a ton of success in my program. What is the difference in mindset between those two people? It's one person uses these circumstantial, situational things as a reason to be successful, right? I have kids, that's why I must make this work. I have a job, that's why I must make this work. On the flip side, the people who stay stuck, they go, I have kids, so it's harder for me. I have a job, so it's harder for me. I am older, so it's harder for me. I'm starting from scratch, so it's harder for me. Anything you tell yourself is going to be your limit if you make it your limit. And that is the number one thing that keeps beginners stuck, is they place arbitrary limitations on themselves based on their circumstances, and they find a reason to stay stuck. Whereas the people who break through and make $10,000 in a single month in a really short amount of time, they don't put those limitations on themselves, okay? Now, when it comes to the time, okay, They spend a lot of their time worrying, right? They spend a lot of their time worrying. They're worried if it's not going to work. They're worried if their posts aren't getting any views. They're worried if their athletes aren't getting results. They're worried if the person on the other side of the sales call is going to say yes. They spend so much of their time worrying because they're uncertain. If they can just learn to let go and take off the expectation, just say, I'm going to go as hard as I can, then they'd probably get to the next level, okay? The second thing that they spend their time on is they're really worried about their program, right? Whenever I talk to my clients inside of my scale program who are already, like I said, doing 10, 20, 30, 50, $100,000 a month, one of the biggest things that they say is in the beginning, they thought their program meant way more than it did, right? And if you're a beginner watching this, you might be thinking, oh, well, the program is the product and I have to build the program first. And if I build the program first, then everybody in word of mouth and this and that. It's like, yo, bro, like you haven't even had enough people come through your program to know what a good program looks like, right? You got to have enough people come through the system to figure out, ooh, we got to make that a little bit better. We got to make that a little bit better. And that is why at the beginning, most people I recommend should undercharge for their services so that way they can continue to build and build and build and build and build until they have a confident enough program, okay? But spending time on your program is a poor usage of your time, right? You should build your program as you're training your athletes around what they need, okay? That is just a total waste of your time. If you notice, beginners, it's all mindset. They have a poor mindset and they're spending their time improperly, which is a downstream effect of everything else. But let's keep going. They spend a lot of time consuming. They're sitting here watching this YouTube video, taking every single note on my YouTube video, thinking that I'm just going to give you the golden holy grail and that it's going to be one thing that I'm going to give you. And then all of a sudden, all your problems are going to be solved. The answer is that you just need to take one step forward after another, right? One step forward after another. There's not going to be a silver bullet or a golden nugget that I give you in any one of these YouTube videos, or even if you join any one of my programs, right? And you can check out the link in the description if you're interested in working with me one-on-one. But there's not going to be a silver bullet or a golden nugget that just solves all your problems like magic. It's going to be a bunch of golden BBs. It's going to be one thing that's going to stack over time. And the only way that you could do that is by taking action, okay? So stop looking for those golden BBs or those golden nuggets, right? Okay, pricing, usually they're charging under $1,000, right? And it's because they have some limiting beliefs around what they're worth or what other people are willing to pay. And they will usually present their price as a monthly option. They'll say, yeah, it's $250 a month or it's $300 a month. And typically I would ask for a 3-month commitment, but if you want to start with a free trial, then we can do, it's just like super needy, you know what I mean? Like you lose all authoritative frame and then they go, why is nobody paying for my $250 program? It's like, because you're terrible at sales. I have clients charge $8,000 for their program, $10,000 for their program, and people buy it. Right? Why is that? Because they've learned how to sell it, they have confidence in it, and they have authority. But we'll get into that, okay? Most of the time, beginners are just way undercharging, okay? The offer and who they go after, I just put WTF because most of the time beginners, they don't know who they're going after. They don't know what problem they're solving. They don't know what the outcome is of their offer, right? They'll usually, if you ask them like, hey, what's your offer? They'll be like, oh yeah, so it's $250 a month and you can cancel at any time and you get a custom program and you get one-on-one calls with me and you get to message me and we do video analysis. It's like nobody cares about any of that. I want to know what am I going to get by working with you, not what is the program, what is the outcome. Think about it like this. If somebody just flipped you a pill, you swallowed it, and all of a sudden you were making $50,000 a month coaching athletes online with no work, no time, no sweat, and there was no side effects, how valuable would that pill be? It would be infinitely valuable, right? It would be worth at least $50,000, right? So beginners need to reframe their mind around what the offer is. What is the actual outcome that somebody should expect to achieve by working with me and my team, okay? And then I said, please pay me, right? They give off needy energy. Let's move on to content. This is probably the biggest thing that holds people back in terms of tactics, right? Is that they're just inconsistent with their content because of their perfectionism. loops back to the mindset, obviously, because beginners, the only reason why they're a beginner is because they have limiting beliefs around what's possible for them. But it's perfectionism, right? They're inconsistent, they need their content to be perfect, and so they don't post as much as they can in order to get the necessary feedback and data to know what's actually going to work, right? They try and plan their way to the perfect piece of content, and then they post it, it doesn't hit, and they go, oh no, I totally thought this was gonna work. This actually happened with a client inside my scale program where he's placing like so much value. So we're trying to crack ads with him, right? He's placing so much value in these ads that he launches the ads, they don't work, and he goes, oh no, I totally thought this is the one. Then he books a call with me, we have a conversation, I talk him off the ledge, and he goes, this is the time, right? Places all this importance on this one set of ads. It's like, dude, you're gonna be running ads for the next 10, 20 years. Like, just see it as data and keep moving forward. That's what beginners need to do with their content as well. He just lost sight of that because now there's a little bit of money on the line, right? And by the way, homeboy just did like 19K in revenue last month and still is having these thoughts, okay? So I'm not trying to like just put everybody down watching this video. I wanna show you guys like, and show you the mirror of like what you're probably doing right now and the mistakes that you're actually making, okay? So 10 to 30K a month. This is the most dangerous stage. I see a lot of my clients get stuck here, right? Because they start to tell themselves, I figured it out, right? They're starting to make more money than everybody they know. They look around them and it's like, if you make 10,000 or 20,000 a month, coaching athletes online, working, 20 hours a week, maybe. Like people look at you and they think that you're the man, right? They think that you're super cool. And I'm not even gassing it when I say that, right? My clients that make 10 to 30K a month, they probably work 20 hours a week. I actually just hired somebody whose online coaching business does $50,000 a month, and he is so freed up with his time that he can be on my team now, right? Crazy, okay? So this is a full-time career at 10 to 30K a month. Like you believe that it's a full-time career, and you start kind of having a little bit of an ego because you're not around other people who are way further ahead of you. But you're scared of the scale, right? If you're stuck into the 10 to 30K a month mark, you're usually scared of the scale because, and I don't mean like stepping on and weighing yourself, I mean like growing. Because to go past $30,000 a month, you have to relinquish a little bit of control in some way, shape, or form. You have to take a bigger risk, right? In the beginning, you really aren't taking a very big risk. You're just putting yourself out there, you're posting content, blah, blah, blah. The risks don't get smaller as you grow. A lot of people look at like my business right now and we'll see where we end up this month, but it's looking like we're gonna have the best month we've ever had in business, and people see what I'm doing and they're like, oh, Nick, that must be nice. It's like, I'm taking way bigger risks than anybody else at like the beginner level, right? I'm taking way bigger risks than I did when I was a beginner. And so people in the, sub 30K a month mark, typically they kind of get caught up in like, not wanting to take that next risk. But if you want to go to the next level, you have to be willing to take bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger risks, okay? So where is their time going? Usually they're doing everything. They're doing the DMs, they're doing the sales calls, they're coaching, they're making content, they're probably editing all their content. They're literally doing everything. They're the genius with 1,000 hands and doing as many different things as they possibly can. That's what's keeping them stuck. However, this ain't a bad life, right? 20,000 a month coaching athletes online, that ain't a bad life. Most of you guys watching this video, you'd be like, dude, if I could do that, my entire life would change and I'd be so happy. It's like, probably not, but your life would definitely be better unless obviously you're further along now, okay? Pricing wise, they charge about $1,000 to $3,000 with a paid in full for like a 3 to 6 month program. As people continue to grow and develop in their program, one of the biggest hacks that I've seen is just extending the length of the program to a 6 month or a 12 month. And so that's kind of the transition that oftentimes can help people go from 10 to 30K a month to 30 to 50 to $100,000 a month, okay? This, once you've done it, you're at 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 a month, you probably have a specific demographic and a very specific outcome, right? You're targeting a very specific person, and the only thing preventing you, like in terms of the offer, of like continuing to grow is you just need more people coming in. But you kind of got it figured out. You got the basics figured out. So the mindset of I figured it out is real, but it's just the basics, right? Cool. Content-wise, probably posting 1 to 3 times a day, pretty consistent, maybe running a little bit of ads. I recommend our clients at this level start posting regularly on YouTube so that way they can develop a little bit deeper relationship, build a brand on another platform. It's a really long-term play, right? If you look at my YouTube channel versus my Instagram I have way more followers. That's like the primary driver of our business. But YouTube, this is where I can go way more in depth and really show you guys how like good I am at this, right? Because if you watch this enough, you kind of start to get the sense of it. And realistically, all I'm doing in these YouTube videos is just making videos for my current clients and answering their questions, right? I mean, it's pretty simple, okay? So now, the $30,000 a month plus online coach. What is their mindset? Okay, number one, they're a business owner. They've embodied that as their identity, like, hey, I run a business and that is what I am. I am a business owner. In 10 to 30K a month, it's kind of like I'm a freelancer. Like they put a lot of their ego in the fact they're making, you know, this money all on their own. I mean, I did the exact same thing. I can't sit here and talk about it. It's common, right? It's common. I see it happen all the time. Okay, but usually $30,000 a month plus, you know, let's say 50K, 100K a month plus, like business owner. I am a business owner and that's what I'm going to embody, okay? It's also the first time that you realize that you're probably starting to get exposed to people who are like a little bit further ahead of you, right? When I made my first $50,000 a month, I thought I was on top of the world, right? I thought I was a genius. And then I got around people making 100, 200, 500 per month. And I was like, oh, wow, I'm mad small. It just dawned on me like, oh, there are like really levels to this game. And it can really mess with your identity and your mindset when you start getting around people that are further ahead of you, because if you start to place your self-worth in your business revenue, you'll start to put yourself down in comparison to these other people who are just further along in the journey, right? So as you scale, it's not that there are less problems, there are more, or there are the same amount of problems or even more problems, but there are different problems that you're dealing with when it comes to the mindset, okay? So the biggest question that these business owners start to ask themselves is like, how many people can I actually help, right? In this range, people are typically very selfish, and not for bad reason, right? People are typically very selfish at the beginning because they just want to they just want to prove it to themselves that it can work, right? Then in 10 to 30K a month, it's like, whoa, this is the most amount of money I've ever made in my entire life. Once you get past $30,000 a month, and you have, like, as long as you're not, you know, buying a new watch every week and driving a Lamborghini and blowing all your money on stupid stuff, like, for the first time in your life, you don't really have to worry about the basic necessities, right? You go out for coffee and you buy it, it's 10 bucks, who cares? I tip 5 bucks, like, let's keep going. Probably a little bit wasteful per se, but, you know, at the end of the day, you're not worried about the basic necessities, okay? And so when your basic necessities are taken care of, you can start to look beyond yourself and you can start to look and see like, how many people can I help, right? How do I become the best boss for my team members? How do I become the best leader for as many online sports coaches as I possibly can, right? How can I self-actualize and self-realize the best version of myself to impact as many people as I can? But you gotta get there first, right? You gotta be able to take care of you and, you know, let's say your immediate family, let's say you have a spouse, kids, whatever. You have to be able to take care of your immediate stuff in order to think way bigger and ask yourself, how many people can I help? Okay? Where their time is going is content, number one. If it's not, if you're watching this right now, you're one of my clients and you're making $30, $40, $50, $100,000 a month, and content is not the number one thing that you're spending your time on, shame on you, okay? Number two, management, right? Now you got a team, maybe you got a coach, maybe you got a sales guy, you probably got an appointment setter, you probably have a content editor, right? You have these like different people in different positions now, and it's your job to not so much be on the field running the ball down the field. You got to call the plays and coach them up between the plays, right? That's really where your job becomes. You go from star player to coach, right? And now you want to make sure that your team is on the field doing what you're asking of them and performing at the highest level that they possibly can, okay? Oftentimes too, in this like early 30 to 50, maybe even 100,000 a month, sales or coaching, it's one of the two, it's not both. You won't have time to do both, right? And if you are, past $30,000 a month and you've held on to both, you're limiting yourself, right? I can think of a couple clients that I'm working with right now that are doing both of these things, and that's why they're stuck at like 50-ish K a month, right? Because they're doing both, okay? If you want to grow beyond it, then you got to let one of them go. And eventually, you got to let both of them go. Unfortunately, if you want to grow, if you want to help more people, right? Okay, price points, 3 to 5K plus. If you're a beginner and you see, we post clients all the time charging $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $7,000 for their coaching programs, you probably see that and you're like, I cannot believe how they do that. The thing is, you want to stair step your way up there. If you're in the 10 to 30K a month mark and you're signing up, 10 athletes a month and you're not making, $40, $50, $60, $70,000 a month, you're underpriced. That's probably one of the best things that you could do to continue to make more money, right? Or if, you're charging $3,000 for a 4-month program or a 3-month program, you can just double the length of your program and get in this range, right? But we want to be in this price range, okay? 3 to 5K plus, ideally, the more we charge, the better. And the longer the program, the better, 6 to 12 months plus. I've even seen people that will sell like a multi-year program because they're helping people get offers. They're helping people get recruited. So it's not necessarily a specific time frame. It's to an outcome, okay? Now, one of the most common things, and this is actually like something that I don't really talk about a whole lot, but I have noticed, is that when it comes to the offer, most of the time, the people who are making $30, $40, $50, $100,000 a month, they're constantly going up market. And what I mean by that is they're going after a much more serious athlete, because the more serious an athlete is about their career, the more likely they are to invest. The more likely they've already invested in coaching and all these things in the past. And one of the best predictors of future spending in a specific area is having spent in that area before. They've already deemed it a worthy investment of their money. Now we just have to show them how we can help them get that next thing. It's a much easier sale, especially at higher price points, okay? And they typically will position themselves as like a premium service, right? They're not trying to work with 11-year-olds charging $50 a month. Like, they're just not doing that, right? If you look at the biggest online sports coaching companies out there, they are premium. They are showing off their highest level clients. They're showing off their highest level clients and saying, we want to work with these upper level clients. And then obviously it'll still attract, like, let's say, there's a company that works with a lot of major league pitchers. They only, or pretty much like, will only post major league pitchers, and they get a ton of high schoolers, like high level high schoolers coming to them. Why is that? Because they're going for the top of the market in all their marketing, okay? Now, when it comes to the content, going back to what I said here, where they're spending their time, they should be posting as much as possible, okay? As much as possible. Nick, how much should I be posting? As much as possible. 3 times a day, 5 times a day, 10 times. I literally have a client who's a really good friend of mine who I watched him in my living room post 6 videos in a row within a 5-minute time frame. Just boom, 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 boom. And they were all pretty similar. I couldn't believe it. It blew my mind with the amount of volume it takes to really grow. And by the way, they made like $60,000 last week. Okay, you probably don't believe what I'm saying because you're mad skeptical, get it. But it's true, right? And he posted 6 times in a row and it just blew my mind, right? Okay, now this is super important, this last point. Similar videos on repeat. Once you figure out something that works, you do it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, right? You don't try and change up the format, right? Maybe you can test something here with like 5% or 10% of your content, but 90% of your content should be the exact same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Change up the hook, change up the script a little bit, change up this, change up that, right? But little tweaks over time. You shouldn't be doing brand new stuff. It's already working. You're already making 30 to 100K a month, right? So these are the 3 stages that I typically see people go through in terms of beginner, 10 to 30K a month, and 30K a month plus when it comes to their mindset, where their time goes, how much they charge, what their offer is, and what their content actually looks like. If you want to work with me and my team to help you break past one of these barriers, whether you're a beginner, you're already doing 10 to 30K a month, or you're already doing 30K a month plus and want to hit $100,000 a month, and you want to coach athletes online, then you can go ahead, check out the link in the description. Worked with tons of people by now. If you just want to keep watching on YouTube for free, that's 100% cool too. I make these so that way you guys can get as much value for free on my YouTube channel. Either way, hopefully you guys got a ton of value. Catch you in the next one. Peace.